it's an honor for me to tell you and give you a little bit more flavor about the leasing market and the commercial market in the Netherlands and also within Belgium. We're going to see two centers today, and actually I'm going to tell you more about the execution and the implementation of what you saw this morning, and what Matthijs said, and Jo said, of course, and Mart. And that's what you're going to see in real life. I'm doing this with the teams. I joined Wereldhave in 2011, and as Matthijs said, we changed the structure a little bit. We changed the structure quite big beginning of this year, and now I'm leading the teams in Belgium and the Netherlands, the commercial teams and the development teams, which I'm going to tell you more about, and of course also more about the way of working that we have in these two teams. So I start with a short leasing market update. Then, as I said, the commercial structure has been changed, and that means that also the way of working will change in the countries a little bit to push the strategy furthermore, but also to do the better deals for Wereldhave since we implement the new strategy, of course. First of all, leasing market update. What you see here is that over the recent years, the Belgian market has shown a quite decent, good performance. And we actually do not see any reason why this should change in the coming years. We do not see big development next to our centers or even in the market. And the other thing is the Dutch market. What you see here is that it's a different market. You see more negative MGR uplifts, but on the other side, as Jo also said in his presentation, we do get more and more information from our tenants. So that means that we are able to see also the OCRs of the tenants. And if you look at the OCRs, you see quite okay-ish rent. So there's no reason for us that the rent is too high and that will come down much more right now. So I think we are there for the Dutch market. And beside this, the minus 2.8 that you saw also yesterday during the update of Q3, despite the inflation, and that means the indexation, which is quite high, of course, and that like-for-like that you saw, is only a slightly negative number of minus 2.8%. Then the structure of the teams. So I joined Wereldhave in 2011, and there were two countries. So, and from then, always actually the two countries did their own job. But there are a lot of tenants who are in two countries operating, of course. From HEMA, Rituals, bestsellers. I can go more on and on. But also the management of these companies working for those two countries. So what we decided is to make one team and leading one team, the Dutch market and the Belgian market. So actually those teams are really good and good in the jobs, of course. But I think in the Belgium teams there is more room to improve it, but this is more on the structure and processes. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it, because we implemented already a couple of years ago in the Netherlands. For example, when it comes to leasing and when it comes to our strategy, we're talking about the long-term strategy and knowing our tenants. And you might know that the top 25 retailers, it contains, you see it in Belgium, 47% of our rental income. It's really important to sit on the table with these tenants and to have the discussions with these tenants. And not only me, but also me and Doris, or me and Matthijs, or together to have the discussions about, for example, in COVID. It was more easy to do the deals in COVID if you know the tenants, if you can contact them. But also if the payment behavior, what kind of reason is not good, we give them a call. And I have some meetings with Dennis about the payment behaviors of the tenants. We call them directly and they will pay the rent or not. We do have another problem. But also what Mart said, to have the negotiations about the solar panels. So it's really important to sit directly with these big tenants, for example, Albert Heijn in the Netherlands and Belgium, of course, but all the other big tenants like Jumbo, to have the discussions directly with them on the table, with the management on the management level, to talk about these topics. And this is something that we can improve in the Belgium teams. This is new for the Belgium teams, but this has been proven in the Dutch team. So this is the way of working that we have over the last past years, and it's really worked. So I'm really confident that it will also work in Belgium. And beside this, the next step as well is also that, for example, our contact person at HEMA is responsible for the Belgian market, but also for the Dutch market. So it's more and more easy for them. It's a more customer-centric approach to have one contact at Wereldhave to deal with when there are some problems and kind of things. And then when it comes to the Dutch improvement, so also we see some room in the Dutch teams to improve the way of working. So traditionally, we do have really good teams, and we are really good in renting out our centers. And we know the traditional retailers really well, but I think there's more room to know also, as you know, the other kind of retailers. So the alternative uses, it's a total different way of work with the from the traditional retail to the other uses. And to do the better deals for Wereldhave, I'm really believe in the story to do more on category management. So that means that the clusters that we built and the clusters that you saw on the slides that Joost just presented, the healthcare cluster, the F&B cluster that we just opened, that door was just opened in Tilburg. This is something we need to understand these kind of categories to do the better deals. And you saw it as well on the rent level. The deals are better than expected that we thought. The only thing is that we need to know how their business model works. Because usually a leasing manager in the Dutch team or Belgian team, they know really well how a fashion tenant or a household tenant, how they works. But it's more, it's also good to know how a F&B tenant works really well, but also a healthcare tenant. And if you know their business model really well, and if you have the conversations with them, then you can do the better deals. So this is something that we implement in the Netherlands furthermore. Today you're going to see some centers. This case is in Tilburg. Don't see Tilburg, but this shows you a little bit more what we did over the last years, and also the connection between the two countries. Because what you see, for example, in Belgium is that there are a lot of Dutch companies or retailers entered the market in Belgium today. And I have one more case later on. But this is the other way around. So what you see here is a Belgium company who entered the Dutch market. So and we are in contact really well with them with the Belgium teams. And then they bring us in contact with the Dutch team, and they opened their first store in our center in Tilburg. So a proven concept, F&B concept, which fits the strategy, proven in Belgium, opens the first store in our center in Tilburg. But also other parties like Basic Fit. So in 2019, we did not have any Basic Fit in our portfolio. And Joost mentioned it a couple of times, we put a Basic Fit somewhere. But what you saw is we opened the first Basic Fit and it works. And typically when it works, of course, for a retailer, they want to have more, but we also want to have more. So, and now in the Netherlands, we do have 5 Basic Fits, and we're expanding in Belgium, and we opened one in France. So with this tenants, it's quite, and from 2019 to now, it's quite a short period to open up 7 locations, and now up to more than 9,000 square meters. With a new tenant, with a new concept, which perfectly fits within our strategy, and it works. Because if it don't work, they won't open any more stores, of course. And we also now in process to open more stores. The last partner case that I just want to show you quick is Douglas. So I think it was a year ago, Matthijs and I, we had contact with Douglas, we sat with the management, we showed our strategy. And of course in the Netherlands, we do have good contacts with them, and we do have a lot of stores with them in the Netherlands. We know that they perform quite well, but then once they want to enter the Belgian market. So what they did, they give us a call and they said, okay, we want to enter the Belgian market. What are the possibilities? And I'm sure that if we don't work with a way like key account management and don't sit on the table with the management and don't show them our strategy, how we work, it was not easy, and I'm quite sure that they won't give us a call of, okay, what can we do in Belgium? And now we're investigating 2 stores in Belgium with them. So, but also for the Belgium team, this is really nice to see how we can bring a tenant like Douglas, which is a new entry in the market, which is really popular there. They opened a store in Weinigem. It's like, they call it like a Primark effect right now. So we're really happy to open up 2 stores with them in Belgium quite soon.
Is there also some sort of a loyalty program behind this? When you open more stores?
That's a good question. Yeah, they can have more meetings with us. So this
a loyalty program would be for them, when
yeah.
it would be that we would be giving Pieter never gives discounts.
No, so we're not allowed to give any discount. No, it's actually, I think there are a lot of and I'm joining you whole day, so I love to talk to you about these topics whole day long, of course. But like, for example, I do believe really in the strategy that we do have our own teams. As I said, we do have the own teams in Belgium and the Netherlands are in contact with these retailers, and especially Doris and her team. Every year we organize, for example, a cooking workshop, which is really popular with all the retailers, and it's not the loyalty program, but what you see there is that every year more and more retailers join the cooking workshop, and I think now we did it 3 or 4 years. The first year you saw a lot of traditional retail, and I opened that workshop and I said, okay, a lot of traditional retail, and I think we need more also other users. And now last year, I think it was maybe not 50-50, but maybe 70-30, and 70 traditional, but 30% other users. So I was in my group, there was one lady, and she was responsible for leisure on a concept that we are talking with her to open up a store in Nieuwegein, which is really good, and I think also to see what we do with the tenants together.
And Pieter, it's also not easy to the blueprints that Joost showed. It looks easy on a piece of paper, but there has to be a lot of interaction. With Pieter's team with the retailers to move around this tenant to the other side of the center, the other one in a bigger shop, the other one just did a new fit out. It's very, very complicated. So it's also important.
It's really important to have these conversations, of course. And for example, I think Joost mentioned it as well. Big Bazaar is a tenant went bankrupt in the Netherlands. I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. And the team already is letting out, I think, I'm quite confident, a lot of units of the Big Bazaars that we're getting back. And for example, you're going to see one Big Bazaar in Sterrenburg today. You're going to see 2 actually, but the one in Sterrenburg, I think it's closed and it will be dark. But we already rented out for 40% more rent than the previous rent. But it was not possible for us to get that store back 1 year ago, because the tenant has got also, of course, their own loss. You heard a lot about data-driven and tenant sales that we get. I think we make a big jump during COVID. As I said, we sat on the table with the tenants, and they, of course, want something like a discount from us during this period. We also want to get something from them. And so what we did is, for every discount that we give, we also ask their turnovers. So they're sharing their turnovers more and more. As you see here, 62% for the Netherlands, which is, I think, also if you compare it to competitors, quite high. I think when I joined Wereldhave, it should be at 15% maybe, or maybe 17 or something like this. So we improved it a lot. And I had contact with a couple of you during the break. It's really important for us and for the teams to have those turnovers. And also if they open a new store, for example, you do have the turnovers now also from the different countries, but to have a better negotiating and to have a better negotiating power. And I give the example to, I think to you. So this year, I can give you this example. A fashion retailer in Nieuwegein came to us, which was a quite big unit, and they want a rental discount. And they had a break, and you see especially, okay, then when they have a break, then they come to us and they said, okay, the rent should go down by 30%. And then we sat on the table, and this is new that we have this OCR from this tenant. We put it down in the sheet, and you saw actually, it was a quite okay OCR. And we thought, okay, this tenant, he should make money. And we decided, Matthijs and I, to do nothing. To say, okay, it's our own risk. If we get back this store, of course, we do have a challenge, but we say no. And what happened? Nothing happened. So the tenant is still there. Okay, the relationships maybe a little bit, not so good anymore. But the good thing with all the retailers, and we do have good relationships, is on 2 months later you need them in other centers. So this is how it works, and this is how how it in practice goes. And it's nice to show you, and again I can tell you more about it, all these examples today. But what you see here, for example, I can't say the name of the tenant. Hopefully you can understand. It's not nice, of course. But what we have is we see the like-for-like turnovers. And we see also the turnover delta per location. So we have a lot of location with this tenant. And we see especially the OCRs. So when an OCR of this tenant, for example, the Cope Week will go up by 9%, then in the key account program, we go to this tenant and we said, okay, we see our OCR in the Cope Week is going up by 9%, to 9%. So what's going on? And then you have the conversation, maybe the location is too big, too small, they change the management in the store, or all kind of locations, but the best thing is to have the contact directly with this tenant, and this is what we're going to do more and more over the coming period.
The trends on like-for-like turnover are specific to that tenant, aren't they?
Sorry? Yeah. This is one tenant. Yeah, this example is from one tenant with the stores. It's a realistic.
Maybe okay. So you have like OCRs and you have demand supply, right? So like
Yeah.
you know, and it kind of works if both things are okay. So do you have any view on neighboring assets, for example, in Arnhem-View, where you know like vacancy rates have come down, right? So that also helps your overall negotiation.
Yeah.
Right, playing this game.
Sure, that's totally true. And the other thing is that we invest in our centers. So there are a couple of things. We invest a lot of money in our centers, and this works, as you all saw. You see it in all the metrics. And the other thing is we see it also in the OCRs, and this helps also in the negotiation. And of course, tenants are looking at their store base, and maybe a lot of tenants will decrease their store base. But it's our goal to have the tenants then in our centers and not at the neighborhood center next to us. And you see now that pays off and that works. So you need to give the attention to the tenants.
What helps us a bit in the Netherlands too, Jan Willem, is that we typically compete with a city center, and those rents are high. And it's typically paid parking, which is a very simple thing, but you also see with the 2 malls today that we got free parking. It's a super important item, because municipalities in the Netherlands they still think retail is in the golden era, like I started. So they're raising actually parking rates in many municipalities, also here in Amsterdam.
So there's maybe a lot of information in a quite short time, so don't hesitate me to ask me any questions during the day. I don't know from now on if there are any more questions.
Maybe it's a bit of a specific one, but looking at you, obviously you had quite an uplift on indexation.
Yeah.
In the Netherlands, we're now looking at a new rule for CPI calculation.
Yeah.
Is there any pushback on that? That tenants say, okay, but yeah, it's a new way of calculating, but now we're sort of get a double whammy in terms of high indexation.
So we push the indexation through. So the contract is the contract, and I also in the break I told you that. So if there is a benefit for us in there, we can talk about the indexation. And what we did, for example, is we did some deals where a tenant opened a new store or relocate the store, make it bigger, where there's a benefit for us. We put in a minimum indexation and a maximum indexation. So these are kind of deals that we are doing right now. So I think for the coming years, when we do have a minimum indexation of 3% and a maximum of 6%, these are the negotiations that we have right now. And on the other side, for example, the daily life and the kind of tenants, we push the indexation through the.
And if the law changes everything, then that is what it is. And you're right. It would be very unfortunate for the tenants, because if they would change it now, you see the inflation in the Netherlands with the normalized energy is plus 5.3, and exit was, I think, minus 0.4 in October. So then the tenants get another hit of 5%. Of course, we will not fight against that because it's in our favor.
Exactly.
I don't think, to be honest, that will happen. And what is also important is that we had we had some court cases in the Netherlands on tenants that were fighting the high indexation, and actually the outcomes of those cases are in favor of the landlords. So the risk that rents will have to be adjusted backwards has diminished.
It's been published this week also. So they called it the onvoorziene omstandigheid, which is not, it's not a onvoorziene omstandigheid. No, not onvoorziene. Yeah. Same as in COVID. Yeah.
unforeseen circumstances.
Unforeseen circumstances. Yeah. So that's what the tenants ask. They say it is unforeseen circumstances that the inflation is so high and the indexation is so high, and then so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry, I don't hear you. No problem. Yeah.
Can you make a comment about the MGR that I saw is down 2.8?
2.8% in the first slide. Yeah.
Can you make some comments?
Yeah, sure. So there were some deals that we did this year, of course. But also some. I cannot say a lot of names, but for example, we did a package deal with a bigger tenant in the Netherlands, and then it comes down, and this is what Dennis said in the beginning. With the top 25 of the retailers, we sit down and we went through the portfolio, and we did a deal to put the rents on the normal on the market level, and these rents, I think there's a little part of these top 25 still in here, but we took the pain earlier. Yeah.
Is that 2.8% negative, is that versus indexation of that year or versus the
previous rent? Yeah. So despite the high inflation and the like-for-like, it's slightly 2.8%. And last year it was 0. Yeah. And in Belgium.
You expect them to be more flat going forward, right?
I think so. Yeah.
The end of the top 25, there's only one left.
Exactly.
Household group chain.
Yeah.
We can talk about it
Exactly.
when we go to the centers. Where actually
Yeah.
also in some cases, I think that tenant in the Copa report.
It's already there.
I think there's actually upside.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the grocery
Yeah.
store wants to expand.
And how widespread is the demand to enter into a capped and collared indexation agreement? Is that sort of very bespoke and very one-off, or is that something we should expect to be a material part of your rental?
I don't know it should be a material part, but it's coming more and more through. So I think the new, so as I said, it's only if there is also a benefit for us in there. So we do not have any negotiations, and the teams knows we don't have any caps. If we sign a new lease with one tenant in one center, we don't sign a cap. The other thing is that if we can do a package deal or a bigger deal or open up more stores, then we are able to see, okay, we put a floor in there and a cap. But also on the automatic renewals, they don't get a cap or a.
Always with the floor.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah.
3%,
Yeah.
and then it will continue after the rate, so there will be no break. So we do a 10-year lease in the Netherlands, no break after 5 years. So we're sure we're getting 3% for the next 10 years.
Yeah. And
I
like,
would
yeah.
assume that the floor at 3 is pretty material for valuers and
Yeah.
investors.
Hopefully
Right
so.
now, they're not acknowledging this. So you saw in H1 our ERVs went up a bit, which is also why the Dutch values went up a little bit. But we're still leasing in the Netherlands, I think 12% above ERV reported yesterday.
yeah.
So the valuers are still very cautious in reflecting the higher market rents into the value. They're always smoothing and lagging, as we know.
Yeah.
But on this side, that's why we are confident going forward, particularly if interest rates plateau, there should be a bit of upside on the ERVs.
Sorry. No.
Is the duration also of the contract a term of the negotiation and the discussions you have with tenants, or not really?
Yeah. So the question is, the question is if the duration of the contract is also within the negotiation. Yes, but not typically in the Netherlands. We see it's also by law we see 5 and 10 years contract. So that doesn't, and in Belgium also the 333, and in the Netherlands we don't see any shorter contracts. What we still do and try if that so in the Dutch portfolio it's really hard to end a contract of a tenant. So what we put in here is that it automatically ends after 10 or 15 years. So that means that we get the unit back and then we can rent it out for a higher level or new market level, or have the negotiation with the tenant. So this is what we put in the contracts. And what you see now is, I think, and Doris can tell you more about it, I think for the Dutch contracts, I think 8 or 9 out of the 10 new leases do have a turnover component. And a turnover component, I get this question often, is that means that we have a current MGR, we have a fixed MGR, which is also above the ERV as Matthijs just mentioned, and above of it it's the highest of the two. So if the turnover rent is higher, then they pay the fixed MGR plus an extra because of the higher.
That's more and more, so this is also where tenants are getting hit. It's because of the high indexation or high inflation. Their turnovers are rising. So
Yeah.
I think 2 years ago we hardly had any contracts where the turnover component was paid, and that is more and more.
Exactly.
And on these longer contracts, how does it work with capex splits? So if they give the keys back after 10 years, is it a rundown bazaar store or is it?
No. So no, they need to deliver the shelf totally empty, and of course, if a tenant goes bankrupt, then we have another story. But after 10 years, they have to deliver the shelf totally empty to us. Yeah.